Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived in Israel Tuesday as the U.S. pushes for de-escalation in the Middle East. Blinken met with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and other Israeli officials in Jerusalem. His trip comes days after the Israeli military said it killed Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar in southern Gaza. Blinken addressed the impact of Sinwar's death while meeting with Israel's president.
I believe very much that the death of Sinwar does create an important opportunity to bring the hostages home, to bring the war to an end, and to ensure Israel's security.
Across the northern border, Israel is actively engaged in combat with Iran-backed Hezbollah militants in Lebanon. CBS News foreign correspondent Ramy Inocencio is following the latest from Tel Aviv.
Lindsay, hi there. This is the 11th visit for Secretary of State Antony Blinken here to Israel in the past 12 months, ever since the Hamas terror attacks of October 7th. And we have been here before. This, again, is a rally by the families and supporters of hostages still held in Israel to try to apply pressure on Washington to finally bring the hostages still left in Gaza home. Speaking with some of the people here, there's a mix of feelings of desperation by some that not enough has been done. There's cynicism that not enough will be done, but there is still hope that remains among these people because, frankly, that is all that many of them feel that they have in the absence of any kind of action from Israel or from Washington. Now, Antony Blinken spoke with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu earlier today, reportedly for about 2.5 hours, ostensibly about some potential kind of ceasefire, a ceasefire that has been elusive over the past year, but that will hopefully bring the hostages home. Those hostages are believed to be about 100 alive and dead, but arguably Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu now has the upper hand. Israel fairly successfully has defended itself from attacks on October 1st from Iran, and since then Israel has killed both the leader of Hezbollah and the leader of Hamas. But a ceasefire, again, has been elusive, and it continues to be elusive. It would very much be a surprise to anyone here if there were a breakthrough that happened of some kind, because we've also seen that Israel has opened up already a second front in the war with Lebanon, and there is an expected Israeli retaliation against Iran. After Blinken's visit here, he is expected to carry on in the Mideast. He's expected to stay here in the Mideast, going on to Qatar and Jordan. Lindsay.
Ramy Inocencio, thank you. Let's bring in CBS News senior national security correspondent Charlie Daggett at the Pentagon for more. Charlie, on Monday, we discussed the alleged leak of classified documents regarding Israel's plans to strike Iran. The FBI has since announced it's investigating. What more do we know about the U.S. response to this apparent leak?
So, Lindsay, we learned today that the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, has contacted his counterpart, Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, over the leak. We're told that, as you said, while the FBI is leading the investigation, the Pentagon says they are working closely with the FBI. Asked whether the DOD has done anything to shut down any further leaks or whether they've determined the source, the spokesman said, look, the investigation is in the first few days. It's important to let it run its course. In terms of Israel, there really hasn't been much of a backlash over the fact that the United States has essentially been spying on them and tracking their military movements, which may not come as a surprise, given that the U.S. has vast surveillance capabilities and the Israelis value their own surveillance and intelligence, obviously. In 2 pages, really haven't revealed much more than what we already knew what was going on, that the Israelis have positioned themselves to retaliate against Iran at a moment's notice. So it's not really likely to impact Israel's plans to strike Iran, but it may have been an embarrassment for the Secretary of State's visit.
Let's talk about that. What are the realistic goals of this visit?
Well, the ultimate goal, as Ramy just reported, and before he left, was to try to kickstart ceasefire talks in Gaza and in Lebanon's Hezbollah while he's there. Talks with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He urged Israel, this is more important or as important, to do more to protect life and to get food and aid to civilians in Gaza. A reminder, Israel's been put on a 30-day notice as of a week or so ago to improve the humanitarian situation in Gaza, or the U.S. may suspend some of its military assistance, and that's important, and we haven't seen that happening. Secretary of State, as you had reported, you ran that clip, said that Sinwar's death creates an opportunity to restart those ceasefire talks. But, you know, Netanyahu hasn't softened his language, and he made no mention in his statement to improve the situation, humanitarian situation in Gaza after their talks.
Charlie Daggett at the Pentagon, thank you.